Alright, so here's a quick video on how to do today's lab. The first thing you need to do is read over the front page with the Prelab Information. Please take the time to read through this pretty carefully. It gives you an example of what I'm going to have you do on the next page. On the next page, I'm having you write 3 skeleton equations, balance them, and then use stoich to figure out how much of each solid, so here's sodium hydroxide, sodium carbonate, and sodium oxide, would form if you used 5 grams of sodium bicarbonate. Now, one of these 3 reactions is actually going to happen, and 2 of them aren't. And your job is to determine using the lab how to do it, which one's right and which 2 are false. This is your hypothesis, and you might need an ion sheet to do it. That's attached to the back of your lab packet. So you need to do this before you do anything else. If you don't remember, work with people in the room. People in here know. If you're really stuck, your instructor has a copy of my answers, but work with each other, figure it out. The hard part for you is probably writing the skeleton equation. The stoich should be pretty much review. Please read the entire procedure before beginning, and then I'm actually going to go through the procedure with you here on video. So your lab station, when you get here, should look like this. You should have a Bunsen burner, and then a paper with tongs, striker, a weigh boat, a crucible, a clamp, a ring stand, and a clay triangle. Before you do anything else, make sure your safety goggles are on, and go ahead and set this up for heating a substance in the crucible. Let me do that really fast. So here is your experimental apparatus. You've got a Bunsen burner connected to the gas, ring stand, and iron ring supported nicely with a clay triangle and the crucible inside out. Please take note, this crucible is going to get very, very hot as the reaction proceeds, as is the rest of the apparatus. But you'll see how the crucible sits nicely between this clay triangle. You don't have to shove it in or anything, but it will be supported by this, so you don't have to worry about it falling through. Just get it nicely in there before you start heating. So the next step you're going to do is you're going to obtain the 5 grams of sodium bicarbonate. It's located at the normal spot. Put it in your weigh boat, record that in a data table, and then take your crucible over to the balance as well, and take its empty mass. So you need both things. Those are the first 2 things in your data table. And then go ahead and run the experiment, which is going to be to heat that bicarbonate for 10 minutes over a flame. So let me get started and let me get that reaction proceeding. Okay, I've obtained the mass of sodium bicarbonate from the procedure. I've written it down in my data table, and I've weighed my clean and empty crucible. So I'm going to use the weigh boat and fold it like a taco and get as much of that sodium bicarbonate into the crucible as possible. Now, if you do something like this and you spill it, no good. Restart, okay? That's lost procedure. It's not going to work. Now, let's pretend for a moment that I've done it, because I'm not being qualitative about it today, but you have to be. Once you're done, put your sodium bicarbonate into the clay triangle. Move your Bunsen burner to the side. Turn the gas on and light it, which is harder to do with one hand. There we go. And adjust your flame for a nice, strong shock flame, something like this, with a nice clean blue. Move it squarely directly into the crucible, like that, and let it heat for 10 minutes. If you'd like, you can move the base of the crucible into the top of the pointy part of the flame, but this is a pretty good setup. It doesn't have to be stirred, it doesn't have to be bothered. Take any observations you want, just take a timer with your phone or a watch or whatever, and let this heat for 10 minutes straight. So I'm not going to make you watch this for 10 minutes. You're going to do it in live yourself. Take any observations you need, and then we'll see the next step. All right, the 10 minutes are up. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the gas. And let this start to cool just like it is. Just let it sit inside the iron ring to cool off. This is going to be very, very hot to the touch. In fact, it's probably going red hot. So let it cool here for a good 4 or 5 minutes. Take any observations by just looking into the crucible from above. Again, being careful not to burn yourself. And then while you're doing that, get your lab station back and cleaned up. Make sure everything besides your crucible is back where you found it. Get it ready for the next class while you're waiting for this to cool. Alright, the product's been cooling for 4 or 5 minutes. When I put my hand near it, I can still feel heat radiating off of this, but it's not nearly as hot as it was a few minutes ago. So I feel comfortable now using my crucible tongs to come in here and grab between the edge of the triangle and the crucible, and to carefully lift the product and put it on the lab surface to finish its cooling. Now, it's still warm to the touch right now. I don't want to pick it up, so once it is cooled entirely, you can take it over and record the mass on the balance and finish your analysis. That should be it for procedure. Please make sure if you have any questions to help each other out first. All of you run procedure like this before. All of you know how to do this safely. And I trust that you're going to give your instructor, who's very graciously in here for 2 periods, the time and the respect to do this with professionalism. So, have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.